Again, this was an individual, Charles from Africa, who was with the new presentation and stepped back about a year or so ago. But nevertheless, he had a series of Skypes that I think went on for about 6 years. Between the Africans, and he was like the I suppose the interpreter between the Africans, who were predominantly French speaking, and Duane. And he would ask Duane, he would share experiences and ask Duane a number of questions. Charles, there's a company that cleans up the ocean, that has developed advanced technologies to get rid of plastic, pollutants, etc. This reminds me of what the All Solar Research Project could do for the oceans if it became operational. The pushers of the ocean cleanup may not know anything about the real guides, the new man, and the new presentation, yet they care about the all-natural environment. Are their endeavours an exercise in futility, since they know nothing about the true reality of the all is? Where does life place such people who are very concerned, have stepped up to do something for life, without knowing what we're doing? Would they be just cast aside as having done nothing, because they did not get to know the new song, the real guides, and recognize the true reality life is? Duane responds, these people have made a choice, and your reference as to where life places them, again, the true reality life is an isness. Really, what you're referring to is creation. There's a difference. This is not life here, this is creation. It's a simulator. They have made choices in creation, and nobody is cast aside, so to speak. It's simply cause and effect. They've made choices and have chosen to clean up the ocean, which is fine. I really see it as something to do while you're here, because the petroleum companies and the so-called powers that be that control the planet are producing more stuff than you could ever clean up. And with Greenpeace and these others, is it so these are fronts for the cabal also, to make people think there's something happening that looks good? As you investigate it a little further, things become very interesting. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but that's on the physical level. People have made choices to do something, and that's as far as it goes. Recognizing the whole of life, that's a different story altogether. This process of this and that has gone on since creation began, and the end result is where are we? Really, it's all about awareness. Yes, they're doing something in creation like everybody is. There's a lot of so-called good people, and there's an old saying too, the good die young. So what does that mean? Is it about being good? Is it about being bad? Is it about being tricky or anything? Or is it about becoming more aware? What makes sense? You want to be a good person? That equals what? You're still growing old and unaware. I'd rather be aware to see what's going on, and I don't see that it's about being good or bad. I see being considerate to others and their choices. That makes sense. But I'm not here to police the situation, even with the people who have stepped up to support and share something that makes sense with this world. Each person makes their choice. They can be good people, and even if there's a good cause here or whatever, there's always infiltrators. You see that it's all infiltrated by the distortion that's purposely perpetuated because this is a control factor. They want to make sure that everything is under control. That's why with the Zoom, the Skype, and emails, we have cameras everywhere, etc. And does this make sense? Did the Indians have this stuff? Did the indigenous people have to do this to keep an eye on everybody? This is human farming. You have to take this factor into consideration too. You're on a human farming planet, and just like in the movie The Matrix, things look good, but are they really that? And is it about being good? That gets you a few little brownie points, or whatever the idea is, but does that get you on the way to completing, recognizing yourself? We're presenting something. I've made this very simple and clear, and that is that what I've created is a presentation. It is a new presentation, and that makes sense. It's not a category, and for those who want to wake up and become more aware, well, this is what we're sharing. We're sharing our experiences. That's how I started it off, sharing my real side experiences with ReBazaar and the guides, etc. This is how I started off. I didn't start or create something. Paul created his position because he knew he had to create the babysitting position. So he created the Ekankar idea, the membership, which had been created before, because this is what people came from. Now the focus is on the environment, and so I've labelled it the all-natural environment, because not only with the personal self and the 5 bodies in creation, it really applies to your real awareness, but you really must go through, you might say, the steps to recognise that. What people are doing on the earth is just keeping busy with something to do, and really, what does it equal? Because the bad boys are creating a whole lot more stuff. Fukushima has been on for 8 years now, and the entire ocean is radiated. Let's see them clean that up. And the chemtrails, the GMO food, we're being netted in 5G here. Cleaning up the plastic is something to do, and I see them as nice people. They will be cheered on by their community. Will the end result be recognising more than creation? Because this is not life. Again, when you use these references, you actually start to add to the distortion of things. When people say, this is life, well, what they've agreed to is that this is all there is, and I see that as kind of sad. So I refer to it as creation, or the simulator, because it's not all there is, at all, not even close. So again, it's according to the references you use also here, like the word mission. I'm not on a mission. There's no such a thing, and this is not a teaching. I'm not teaching anything. We're sharing and showing people how to stand real with something that makes sense. So I see the words do have a meaning according to the reference. If we use the same old words and ideas that reference the agreed upon distortion, then I don't see how that's going to get any further. We're picking our words and ideas, and especially stepping up with something real, presenting something that makes sense with the environment we're living in, and also bringing in how to become more aware to better understand the environment we're in and all the environment of life itself. That's a big challenge. It was easy to just go out there and talk about what Paul wrote. Now you have to figure it out according to how the world really is, and seeing the world as it really is, and not what it's presenting to you as what you might think it is.
I kind of shudder a little bit when you read these old things. Kevin, I'm just wondering, how did I say it back then? Whatever, etc. So it's kind of funny, you know, as time goes on, and looking over what Paul wrote before he took the rod of power, and he wrote many little phrases, wisdom phrases and whatever, and, as Eckankar got along, etc., etc. But the finale before Paul left was all of a sudden, I remember there I was with Patty Simpson, and she at a meeting, and she had announced that, gee, all of a sudden, here's these books, like Talents of Time, East of Danger, Three Masks of Gaba, etc. All of a sudden, where did these come from? So, Paul did the teaching. Okay, he started it off, and that was something. It had to be whatever it was, because that's where people were at that time. But the books gave more of a hint. These adventure books gave more of a hint, and I would say that most people saw them as just as that themselves. And so, take for example, which would be the most radical one. Well, Three Masks of Gaba, but the Talents of Time, and the Adventures of Rebazar Tars. When I was finishing up, when I was doing book 3, and expanding upon the far country, I called the real far country, etc., and showed what else was taking place that wasn't seen in Paul's day. Book 4 came in. I could see it. And all of a sudden I realized, oh, this is the Adventures of Rebazar Tars, and it was a takeoff on the Talents of Time. I could see the whole thing is multidimensional, and so very interesting what we go through. And as I first created the new presentation at some date, I don't know what, if it was after 07 or before. Well, I think it was before that, during the time. Yeah, it was before that. It was actually way back there, maybe right after the Rod of Power, 2001. I'm not sure of the date, but I just looked at the playing field, and I figured that, I don't want to call it something. I don't want to categorize it. I see it as a presentation. That's all it is. We're just simply, like the sun shining. It's just presenting itself. And that's real. That's very, very real. And for people to even identify with that, that's huge. To really acknowledge that and to recognize that as a real consideration, that's a whole lot, because for the most part, hey, the sun is shining, it's a planet, it's nice, it's warm, it's all these things, etc. It gives us life, light, and provides life, makes the grass grow green, whatever. Okay, so we have all these ideas that have been agreed to, but the reality of its presence and referencing what it does, well, that's a whole lot more. It's like, whoa, that's into theory, make-believe, conspiracy theory, whatever people decide it is. And so to, actually get a hold of this, and prior to 2001, I was shown the is. I recognized what this is, and then I realized in 2001, when it came along, that I was to present this. This is what I was to present. And even though in a few places of Paul's book, he refers to it, and even there's one part in Dialogues or Far Country, Rebazar is saying that, he refers to, like what Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within. But he's saying that it's not within, it's not without, it's not that, it's an isness. It already is. It's a hint. But to grasp this, that's something else, because of how our mind and 5 bodies are set up in a kind of a forward motion mechanically, and especially how we've been indoctrinated not to really, more so be kind of along with the natural environment, but more so, totally mechanized with the social structure. It's all mechanical stuff. And people get excited about what they've invented or whatever, but it adds just to the junkyard of mechanical stuff that eventually we really don't need. As we go through the process, it all works against us. So, really being able to, start out there, I look at it, and to this present day, how I've worked it and reworked it to really get the focus and simplify it. But it's so vast, you cannot really decide what it is. In other words, with the personal self, you figure out so much, but realistically, with your real awareness, you might say you can't figure it out. You really can't do that. It's a real seeing and being, and this is where I see, like Charles and other people we've seen here, they come and go because they're very literal, and it's harder for literal people because it has nothing to do with the literal mind, nothing at all. You don't need the literal mind. You don't need the 5 bodies, not at all. Actually, they're just an encumbrance in the way, and the knowledge or the information we've gotten here throughout all creation, you don't need any of it. But we are here with the 5 bodies, trying to keep them alive like a car. So you do need gasoline and to change the oil once in a while. So that's in creation. But the real you is awesome, and that's the focus. And with what's going on in the world today, it's going to be very interesting because there's many factors taking place, and overall, you've got this religious order of things and the gods and the authorities, always an authority. So, like what's happening there in the UK with Boris and that, and I guess they're pulling back the mandates and whatever. Well, they still got people in religion. They still got the authority figure there. See, they'll go to that because that's their biggie, is religion and the authority and the control right there. So they still tap line people even though they don't get the vaccines or whatever. But see, they have fun creating these things and watching people scramble around being weird. Have fun watching people die and suffer. That's their whole thing. Yeah. Also, a little update on what's going on too, very real. There's a movie, and Val and I watched it. He had never seen it, but I saw it when it came out in 1978 with Michael Douglas and a few other actors. It's called Coma. And that shows you exactly what they're doing. And people are still trying to wonder, just like, gee, are there UFOs and aliens? Many people are still asking the question. And we were watching Stu Peters last night, and he's wondering, oh, gee, is this really happening in America? Are they really doing this? Well, they've been doing it for 50, 100 years. Lobotomies and everything else, a long time. It's nothing new. It's just that people are waking up to the fact of, yes, this is what's really happening in the hospitals, especially the younger people or whatever, where they say, yeah, you've got COVID or whatever, and all of a sudden they die, they take their body parts. So this is the world we live in. It's very real. So we're providing a real service here to show people how to wake up individually. There's no obligation. It's all about choice. But thank you so much. So again, I listened very closely. It's cringe a little bit. Is like, oh, did I say the right thing there that made sense, etc. But you're terrific, Kevin, for stepping up and doing this. Thank you so much.